Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today we are taking a look at the Sculpfun IR20. This is a fiber-based module that goes onto a lot of the existing Sculpfun lasers, and so you can swap out your original module, swap in the IR module to do some work with a number of metals and other materials that might not work well with the blue diode laser, but you can also still switch back to this. Fairly easy, you're not committed to one or the other, which allows you to do some very cool mixed media projects such as this one. So you want to find out more about this? Stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. So last year I did take a look at the Sculpfun SF-A9, which is a 40-watt blue diode laser. Works very nicely. And then this year Sculpfun did come out with this module upgrade to that laser, as well as many of the others. So they did send this out for me to review, and I did check it out with the SF-A9. Now it is compatible with a number of the Sculpfun lasers, including the S6, the S9, the S10, the S30, S30 Ultra, and the S40 and 70 Max lasers. So if you have one of those, they do provide the gantry mounting plate and the cable adapters to get this plugged into your laser. So a nice wide variety of lasers that this is compatible with. So the nice benefit to that is your working area becomes the working area of your laser. So most of those lasers are going to be a 400 by 400 millimeter, or roughly just under 16 inches square. So you do gain a very large working area for a fiber-based module. Now it is gantry-based, so you're going to be limited to the speeds of your laser and how fast that can move around. So you're not necessarily going to be able to compare these to galvo type speeds, but you are going to have a lot more working area. That beam's going to be nice and straight down, not at an angle. So it should give more consistent engravings across the field. Now, this does allow you to engrave with a variety of metals, so stainless steel, brass, and aluminum. You can also work with some plastics. And then there are some stones that react better to that 1064 nanometer wavelength, that IR wavelength, better than, say, blue diode lasers. So there are definitely some reasons you might want to look at this laser. As far as its other abilities, they also state that you can cut some metals, and so stainless steel in 0.3 to 0.4 millimeter thickness is what they state, brass up to 0.4 thickness, and aluminum up to 0.2. So a lot of your thinner business cards or your thin brass metals, you should be able to cut. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be fast. You do have to make multiple passes with that, but that capability on a larger sheet would be very nice. They also do state that you can do kind of deep emboss engraving. So if you wanted to make like a wax stamp kind of thing, you could. But again, the speed of the gantry is going to kind of slow it down. So when comparing it to some of those galvo lasers that can maybe deliver that a little bit faster, you're going to give up working area and compatibility with your current laser for speed. So there's some assembly required. Depending on your laser, you will need to swap out the kind of the bracket up top for managing the cable, and add on the loop to kind of secure the fiber optic cable on top. And then you will possibly need to swap out the back plate or add a back plate onto the back of the actual module to mount it on your laser. Now, the SF9 seems to have kind of the default ones in. I didn't have to do too much. On the gantry, I did have to add these kind of cable management hooks along there. And what that does is allow you to tuck away your old cables that go to the regular blue diode module, and kind of just secure them off to the top of the gantry. And then you also will hook your fiber optic cable in onto the side, which then comes over to the control box. The big thing that you will need to do is there is a pigtail that does come out of the control box, so you will likely have to take this off and plug that in place. It's a Y adapter, so the cable does connect normally up to these for your normal blue diode module, but it also allows you to connect into your signal wire coming out to the actual fiber module itself. This is what will do the bulk of the control for your laser. So once you have that hooked up, you do need to plug that in. The laser itself needs to be plugged in. You will not need to change the profile in Lightburn for your laser. You will still control power and speed through there, but over on the the actual control box and the source is where you will adjust your frequency and turn on and off the focusing laser. So just some minor things to do. And then of course you can swap them back and forth by pulling your module off and unclipping a couple of these, move your fiber module out of the way, and then you would reconnect your blue diode module to that one, allowing you to swap back and forth. Once you have everything hooked up, you do need to turn the source on. You'll see there is a small LCD display showing the current power and frequency. So these knobs, your top one here is power, the bottom one is frequency. If you don't move this knob, this will stay at 0 and your laser will not fire even though you're telling it to in Lightburn. So when you just give it a nudge one way or the other, you'll see it's at 100 or 98, and you can adjust this on the fly, which is nice. Again, Lightburn does still control the power setting to the laser, so you can still have that going, but if you need to fine tune it on the fly, you can do it over here. Now the frequency knob, this is the only way you can adjust the frequency. So it does go all the way up to 60 and down to 30 kilohertz. So you will want to adjust this here. It does not have any effect if you change it in Lightroom. They do have a separate e-stop for this if you need to shut it off. That will kill the power to the module. Twisting it does turn it back on. So once again, you'll see we are at 0% power, so we just need to bump that again and adjust our frequency. Now for focusing, there are 2 red focusing lasers that will come out here, and to activate those, you need to push down on either one of those. And then you'll notice over here, there is a little red dot. And if I use the knob on the back here to adjust the height, you see they are going apart, or I can twist it the other way, raises it back up to bring them together. When they meet is when the laser is in focus on the surface. The other nice thing is you can use this red dot as a framing laser to kind of help line up your material. So if you have like a round coin you want to frame and make sure that your laser is going to hit on that, you can do that, or squaring it off in a business card. Just kind of does double duty. So you can leave that on while it runs, or you can come over here, just tap one of these again, and you see that turns off. So when using this laser, you do want to protect your eyes. It does emit that 1064 nanometer wavelength that is in the infrared range. And I do know that it was scattering beams around my shop because my little Grizzly air filter up there, it was actually turning off and on, and I wasn't pressing the remote to control it. So they do provide a set of glasses here. They're just kind of these gray glasses, and up in the corner you can see that they do have the rating on there of a 900 to 2000 nanometer and OD4, which is great if you've got nothing else. They are a little small for me to fit over my prescription glasses. So I do have a aftermarket pair of glasses. They are from Free Mascot. They do fit over my prescription glasses better. And so these do cover both the blue diode, because it covers from 190 to 500, and then also 800 to 1100 nanometers. So this will cover both your blue diode and your IR in the same set, and they are OD6. The OD rating is the amount of light that it actually blocks. So if you are going to be using this outside of an enclosure, definitely get a good pair of glasses if these don't fit for you, but they do include a pair. So if you're using an open frame, use them. Otherwise, get yourself a good pair of eyewear. As I said, my air filter was going off just from the scattered IR beams. And so those beams are getting out even though you can't see them. All right, so let's take a look at a few of the quick projects I was able to do with this module. So first and foremost, engraving on metal. I did have some coated aluminum cards that I wanted to do both engraving and cutting. So we started off with the engraving, and I ran a grid here. This is a material test, and we ran it from 2500 on up to 10,000 millimeters a minute, and we went from 10 to 100% power. And this was done at a 0.1 millimeter interval. And if I get in there really close, you might be able to tell that there are some gaps in the line. You are going to want to run your interval at closer to 0.04 millimeters, depending on your material. That seemed to be a sweet spot to where I didn't have too much overlap and wasted time, but it was giving me kind of solid engravings. So stepping that up will change this grid just a little bit. But hopefully, as you can see there, we were getting pretty clean results, even up there at 10,000 millimeters a minute. So able to run this laser at a little bit faster of its speed. So also wanted to test out some cutting. I ran through a few different tests, trying it flat on the metal. I did end up taping it to some plywood spacers just to have some space underneath the metal. But you also need to keep that tight. You don't want the card to curl. And so by taping it down and kind of almost stretching it, it helps to keep it a little more flat, because as the heat goes around, it tends to make the card want to warp, and that brings it in and out of focus. But I did finally land on 1,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power, 30 kilohertz. And after 25 passes, I was able to get most of this out. It started dropping out on one side and folding down, and then I just had to tear it on another side. Now, I've had kind of different successes in different sizes and shapes, where in some cases you do maybe 6 to 10 passes, and then you can just, it kind of perforates it to where you can just kind of tear it, to where you want a really clean dropout cut. You need those extra passes. So it is possible. These are 0.2 millimeter aluminum cards, and they did work pretty well. And here is kind of a grunge flag. This was actually scored around the outside. So I did about 3 passes with the 100% power, 30 kilohertz at 1,000 millimeters a minute. And then the engraving, this was actually ran at, I think, the 10,000 millimeters a minute and 30 kilohertz to do the engraving. So this did take about 4 minutes to do that all. It did the engraving and then the few passes. And this is where I just had to kind of tear it out of the card blank, but it did cut through, and it left pretty clean edges that way. There's just a little bit of roughness, but it's not like serrated as like it's gonna be cuttable. Like, it doesn't turn it into a knife. So definitely, if you have some of these smaller cards, these thinner cards, you would be able to do some cutting with that. But I haven't tested anything over that 0.2 millimeter. Of course, stainless steel is a popular one to work with, and you don't need to use a coating with it. It will darken. And so had some of these tins left over from another project, went ahead and threw my logo on there. And this was done at 6,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power. And again, that 30 kilohertz. This did take about 6.5 minutes to do, and that's roughly about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches in size. You want to kind of balance between the speed and the heat. I've done some of these in the past that if you run too slow and try to get too dark, it will actually kind of dimple and curl the metal. So you definitely want to be careful of that. But a pretty good marking on there. I would say it's got a little bit of a brown tinge to it, but fairly dark. If you want really black markings on here, you're going to want to start playing with the laser marking spray. Another example of stainless steel. This is on a thicker one, so was able to really push it hard. This is a little dog tag, and so there you see we've got Bruno and just a typical phone number you might run into. This is a little bit thicker stainless steel, so not so much the worry that it's going to curl or deform. This was run at 5,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power, 30 kilohertz, and only took 1 minute and 20 seconds. So some of these things, definitely with the smaller text, the smaller area, you can get through in a fairly quick time. So if you wanted to use this for batching out a bunch of tags, that'd be great. Individual ones, you're gonna have your setup time, your swap out time, but definitely something doable with this. So one thing to try to exhibit an example of using that larger working area would be these replacement license plate, tags or whatever people call them. Here we actually have to have front and rear plates. So I can't put this on my vehicle here in Minnesota, but in other states where you might just have to have a rear plate, you could put one of these on the front. And so scaled that same flag up, put that on here, and hopefully you can see the details coming through pretty well. And I did run this at 12,000 millimeters a minute, only 50% power and a 0.4 millimeter line interval. However, this did take 45 minutes to complete that. So that bigger working area is nice, but it is going to take some time to complete these projects. You can work with other metals as well. And so I played around with a little bit of brass. You see here, we have everything from a white to a very dark marking on here. So my gray settings, this was 5,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power and closer to 60 kilohertz, whereas the dark is 2,000 millimeters a minute and 30 kilohertz. Both at the line interval of 0.03 millimeters. And so definitely able to get different tones on the metal. And so depending on what you're going for, the effect you're going for, or if you want kind of a, not really color, but maybe grayscale, you'd have some capability with that on brass. But the nice thing about using this in the module base where you can swap between the two, you can do some really cool mixed media projects. And so for kind of highlighting the cool mixed media method with this, having the both modules available on the same frame, went ahead and set up a fun project. I started out with some brass and it did an engraving and a cutout, and this is dialing it at just under 0.4 millimeters. And so this is kind of the maximum width that they say you can cut. So I went ahead and did an engraving of a Corsair and did cut out that oval out of this. And the engraving was done at 2000 millimeters a minute to get that really nice dark look. And then the cut was 1000 millimeters a minute, and I ended up doing 35 passes. So this did take a little bit of time. The engrave and cut was about 11.5 minutes, and the cut wasn't like a clean dropout, but it was enough to get through it to where I could just kind of flex it and tear it out. It left it kind of perforated to where it made a fairly clean cut around the outside. And so I did just have to kind of encourage it to come through that last little bit. I was kind of bumping down the focus just a little bit. I noticed that the brass was kind of flexing a little bit. And so I would just bump the focus down, and you would kind of see that power light up a little bit more in the reaction of the laser on the metal. So just some things that you might have to watch it and babysit a little bit to get through that. But I then took some true flat plywood, this is their maple variety, and drew up a quick little holder for it that could go on a desk. And so this was done with the 40-watt module, swapped back to that, both the engraving and the cut, and just did a recess. This is kind of laminated on the back, so it's glued into the back piece, glued these together, and then glued up this base, slotted it all in place, and have a kind of cool little desk decoration here. But you could use the same thing for making some custom plaques for an event or a special occasion. Whatever you kind of want to use this mixed medium for, it just kind of steps up what you were capable to do rather than just wood or maybe taking just existing metal blanks and working with it. You can make some custom shapes and add the custom engravings, put them in a custom frame. So those are just some of the example projects I threw at this laser, and they all came out fairly well. Overall, I think this could be an option for people who have an existing Sculpfun laser. They want to jump into a little more metalworking, but they don't want to pay the full price for a 20-watt galvo laser, and they might not want to lose the working area of it. If you're into production of items, and there are a lot of smaller items, maybe you'd want to jump to a galvo style laser. You might even want to look at Sculpfun's new UV laser, as it can do a lot of marking on metals as well, including crystal engraving. There are a lot of options out there, but this is something you might want to consider if you have one of these lasers and you want to do some metalworking with your laser, but you don't want to pay the full price and have to make room for another machine. I'll have a link down below where you can check out more about the IR20 laser module, whether you're looking to buy it brand new with the frame or you're looking to add on to one of your existing lasers. You can check out more there. That will be an affiliate link, and it does give me a small commission back to me. Also tells Sculpfun that you appreciated my information, so hopefully I can continue to work with them on future projects. So always appreciate you using that when possible. I love the support, but hopefully I gave you some good information just to help make you more informed about whether this might work for you. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and hit that comment section down below. I do watch for that and try to answer as many questions as I can, as quickly as I can. Other than that, hey, hit that like button on your way out. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do product reviews as well as project and tutorials and just general workshop fun here. Try to keep it educational and just share with what's going on in my workshop here in my garage. So hope you enjoyed this, hope you learned something, but I hope you get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.